It's time to awaken and remember who you really are. It's time to live a life that you absolutely love. And it is time for the awakened being. Conversations to create change. Having real, transparent conversations that will change your world. And together, we can change the world.
Hello, my sacred soul beloveds. It is such an honor to be with you again and to have you join me here on the Awakened Being Conversations to Create Change. This is Sundari, the Alchemist of Light, also known as Marci Mentor. And this show, we wanted to actually create a way that everyone could receive a special interview that I was on with two of my divine besties, allies of light, Jared Grantham and Abigail Brimner, and us being able to have a conversation about remembrance and activating pleasure codes. And really, this is a beautiful conversation that went in a lot of directions of them just getting to interview me and having questions from a beautiful group that we got to share with. So we wanted to make this available for you as well, that you could take these codes of light and this light data and this information to be able to imprint within your system and integrate into your life. So I truly hope you enjoy that. And remember that for any other support, please go to marcilock.com. You can access the Ultimate Life of Having It All activation for free. There's plenty of other tools and tips and things to support. There's plenty of coachings from money medicine to awaken relationships. There's all sorts of activations and coachings and just different things to support. There's the Best Life Tribe, which is my highest recommendation and community of getting to be guided and supported through all sorts of levels of the path and the journey that we're all on to ascension and aligned to manifest. And there's also the book, The Awakened Being, Living in Liberation, Bliss, and Abundance Now. So anything that you're requiring more support or direction in your life, know that there are plenty of ways, my loves, that we can continue to move forward. Enjoy the show.
Here we are. So good. Well, this feels good to have the three of us here. It feels like a bit of a reunion.
It is.
We've had some beautiful adventures together. Many deep.
The other day, the three of us and Adam, and I just was like, Abby,
It's so good though.
And if you're jumping on, beautiful souls, maybe just let us know how you're feeling. You know, this title, because we've put the title as The New Earth Human and Orgasmic Pleasure.
Yeah.
So how does that title even land for you in your system right now when we speak about the new earth and then pleasure?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What word sums that title up for you?
They're going to feel a lot of readies, a lot of openness and expansiveness coming through.
Mm-hmm.
So good to see everybody today. Yeah. One little thing that I want to start with this conversation, and I actually want to just honor actually Marci and Abby. And then the reason why is because as a male in the work, there are so many things that we have access to these days. And I've chosen in on so much development. And one of probably the top 3 experiences of my life was being in Egypt with Abby and Marci together, the three of us. And we went through everything. Every part of our humanness was exposed and experienced in that we were there for 20 days, I think it was. But the most profound healing and transformation and awareness and upgrades. And it felt so special that it was the three of us. And I'm just really honoring you two for your individual embodiment and just being the women for me that have just continue to hold me in my highest light. I love the fact that I did the work and was able to manifest this goddess. And then from the space of the safety of this container, I'm then able to have other relationships with women that are really deep and intimate and really meaningful. And that I can also feel safe in that as well. So just really, really honoring you, Marci, for being that safe container and all the work that you've done to become that human. And you're very, 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 very special to us and our tribe as well. Our tribe love you. Like your tribe and our tribe are like this. It's like, same tribe. So
love it. I so appreciate and receive that fully. Thank you. I accept it, receive it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just so special. And the fact that we get to do any form of connection or collaboration together is just a continuous gift. So thank you for being here.
Right. And I get asked a lot. My team gets asked a lot for things. And anytime it's you guys, it's just an instant yes, because our the frequency that you operate is so high, and what you do for the world is so high. And so I always am like, anything that you guys are doing for the world, I'm so happy to be a part of. I'm so honored to be with you, my loves.
Oh, it just feels like we're just going to have a chat today. I feel like it's just us three, and we've got all these beautiful souls joining us. But we, as Marci always does, she keeps it really real and authentic. It's just her jam. She's just whatever's here in the moment, whatever she's feeling, whatever we're collectively kind of experiencing is going to be woven and be shared in this conversation.
And it's funny because when we originally spoke, me and Marci were having a conversation. I think it may have been about 3 weeks ago, and I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. I'm like, so what's the topic we're going to dive into? And I kind of put it forward, and she's like, well, something that's been really alive for me recently is like the new earth human and manifesting from the new human. Then 2 days ago, she's like, actually, there's these new pleasure codes that are really running through my vessel right now. So what we will do is we'll dance between, and we'll leave not too much rigidity so the conversation can flow the way that it needs to. That's how the three of us like to roll. That's literally how Egypt was. It was like literally 1 minute, someone's on the floor having a full-blown activation and speaking to some sort of angel or deity.
Language.
We're crying. Next minute, we're eating falafels in an incredible restaurant. Like, it was just this beautiful experience, so allowing it to just flow. So to start off with, what feels aligned is to dive into like a conversation around like, what do we feel that like the new human could be? What like explore what that even means, right? Because it's a beautiful way to perceive it, and I can feel what permission that would give for people. So I would love to kind of just start there and dive into that.
Oh my glory, what a subject! Because that is what we're here for right now. I believe every single one of us right here, right now, chose to be here now at this time, knowing this was the Great Awakening, knowing this was the destruction and the destorying of all the things that aren't working, that we can come to alignment in our vessels and awakening of our capacity to be operating from a home base of what is fifth dimensional consciousness and above, which is unconditional love. That is when we clear our field of the karmic process. That's when we clear our field of the birthing process, having to go over and over again, because we're operating in a place of such a high alignment of frequency that everything, the home base, is wholeness and love and oneness. And I feel like now is the call forth for that, because we're in a time when no longer can people distract, avoid, suppress. It's in your grill all the time, in your face. It's like we the ways of functioning, of planning things through and mentally operating from the masculine, we get to everything is being dissolved. Leaders are really getting to step up and own what they've been holding back on, as well as then the essence and the frequencies we each heal our own vessels is healing the planet. For me, it's an operation, which we talked the other day, Jared, and I said, make it simple. It's like when you come to a place where everything, like I see every being as my beloved. You guys know I say beloved, lover, because it's like every single being. As I witness people, I'm just like, like I can feel orgasmic pleasure from every breath of air, from every single animal, from every connection, from witnessing every person, every experience I see as fucking glorious beauty. And that's the home base. The home base. And that's what I believe we get to evolve into as the new earth human, where manifestation is so fucking easy because our fields are so clean and clear, which it's super simple right now because everyone's stuck in the moving from the 3D to the 4D. And it's when we just dissolve those things. It's like, it's so fucking clear up here, my loves. Bliss and joy and ease and grace and all that we are, knowing that is the new human in the way of being.
What I really love? Abby's good.
Yes.
So there's something I want to just pin in this space right here. So one thing that Oren shared in our previous panel Zoom call we did was, what is required from us as leaders moving forward? And he said integrity. And one thing that within you is so sound is your integrity. What I mean by that is when you're saying to me that you treat everyone like your beloved, like that is the only way I've experienced you.
Yeah.
It's literally the only reference point I have for Marci Buck is like, I feel like I'm in a relationship with her in a really beautiful, healthy way, but there's this beautiful energy of naturalness, right? And for me, what I look for in friends and people that I want to collaborate with is that piece, right? It's like, cool, because there are so many people for years that have been speaking things, right? Speaking out these new earth codes. However, the misalignment, it wasn't actually fully integrated yet, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I love that you share that I can testament to this as well. You really do see life through the lens of beauty. And I know that even your name, you know, Sundari is the goddess of beauty, the goddess of light and pleasure. And it's just so perfect for you and who you are and all that you embody. And for me, you know, as a woman that has always experienced a lot of competition with other women and that kind of undercurrent of not feeling good enough and like this kind of comparison energetics, like with me and you, it's just so blissful. I know, it's so divine. And I remember in Egypt, you know, I would come downstairs and I'd just be wearing what I was wearing, and Marci was just like, oh, babe, like you look so beautiful. You're so sensational. You're so divine. And I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. I felt like every day, you know, and it was just coming from such a sincere and such an authentic place. And it's you bestowing beauty through, you know, through your eyes and everything, and just sharing and speaking that. And that's really beautiful, Marci, for you to have that embodiment. And it's really supported me to really speak more beauty into my existence as well. I can see it and witness it. And I know that we all can appreciate it. But how often do we actually also just speak out that emotion, that yumminess that's kind of whirling in there, and actually give that to the person?
It's almost
so
like
have that experience.
Embodied captivity. Like it's like,
yeah.
Like your whole body gets overwhelmed with you being captivated by it. As you guys just went into your usual pattern of you two coming together, instantaneously I remembered us being in the temple of Hathor in Egypt.
Oh.
And, and what was interesting is we knew it was the temple of playfulness, creativity, sensuality. We knew that going into, like, Hathor's energy is beautiful, it's playful, it's curiosity, it's all these incredible, you know, divine feminine traits. And I will never forget me and Ahmed walking through the temples behind and in front of you guys. And we're in a Muslim country, right? So, and all of a sudden, these two are covered up. The ladies are covered up. And as we start getting further and further into the temple, layers are starting to come off. Dancing is starting to happen. And it was like this organic just expression, right? Like the energy was, because the temple, the frequency is so potent. And you guys were in such a state, in a cohesion, your energy, that what happened was it was happening organically. And I'm like, I'm going to have to just let them do their thing. I'm not going to interfere with
sensual sisterhood, dance, play, like touching and moving and just so getting codes. And it was so beautiful and it was so glorious to just be in that. With,
it was.
Sister.
It was. I was just going to say, in that temple, that feeling was so activating for me as well on such a cellular level. And I feel that the Hathor temples really, been an initiation. I think every temple freaking is, but this one in particular, because of the energy that we were experiencing. And in myself, I really felt a new level of radiance that I was embodying, and she was kind of opening me to receive in that moment. And the beautiful pictures that we captured together. And even, I'm just going to be real here, even my pussy, my yoni in that temple was opening, and she was opening. And I remember, I'm just going to lay it down on the table here, like I was producing a lot of the liquid. A lot was just coming out, and it was just flushing.
Open pleasure code. Juicy.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. Yeah.
I was like, what is happening to my yoni? I don't even know what's happening, but it's a lot. And it was so incredible, though. I'm so grateful. And since really, beyond Egypt, but Egypt's been a big initiation into pleasure, into prosperity, into more abundance and bliss and beauty and devotion. And since then, I think, we're going to talk about pleasure as well in this conversation. There's so many portals of pleasure opening right now within the body, within the channel, and within ourselves, first of all, within our own relationship with ourselves and our world, our sensory experience. And then also, if you are in a relationship, there's such a beautiful opportunity right now to be connecting in divine sacred union and exploring those frequencies in sexuality as well.
Well, I love to bring it back to a place where, because some people are operating in a place where they're like, I can't even fathom that. Like that's just, like to operate. It's like, it can create separation that we're like, that's so far away. When the truth is, I mean, share a bit of my coming from that is that, my background being raised hardcore. I was raised Mormon, LDS religion, very much. You couldn't even say the word masturbation or wear a tank top. And there was just such a strict, that you couldn't be seen or heard or spoken. It was so much restriction on any expression, anything being, that at all. And not to mention, that's just, we're not just talking the sex side. We're just talking fully even being worthy, heard, to be seen, to take up space was at least my experience. So even being raised on a farm with life was hard and sicknesses, diseases, all the things that I experienced. I remember one of the shifts for me was as I started. So those that have followed me or know, I was actually virgin all the way till I was married because it was against the religion to, have sex before marriage. And so virgin, married in the temple at 21 years old, because again, it was by 19 to 21, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be married and have kids. And it was very much do what God wants you to do. And it was when I was 28 years old and I found out my former, and again, I use former because of the energetics of it. My beloved former who literally carried that soul contract for me. When I found out he was cheating and my boys were 1 and 4 years old and I became a waitress making $2 an hour, just how do I feed my kids? And had someone sleep on my couch at night and, just went and did a waitressing at night because they were so little. I wanted to take care of them during the day. And as I started, that was a big awakening for me of this isn't working. I've lived my whole life in sacrifice, servitude, not enough, sickness, disease, scarcity mentality, all those things. And life is meant to be hard and suffering and sacrifice. And so I remember as I started down an awakening journey, my kids and I got to go through a whole conscious journey together. And I remember driving down the road and someone saying something about they saw the flowers and the mountains and the horses in the pasture. And all I saw was the weeds. All I saw on the side of the road was the weeds. I didn't see any horses, any flowers, any mountains. I didn't see anything beautiful. And I caught that and was whoa, my whole life has been looking for the weeds, has been looking for the pain, the struggle. I didn't know pleasure existed at all. Even getting married and having sex was when you're raised your whole life that it's bad and wrong, then it's you do it and you're this is not okay. This is weird. And then it's just for the guy. And there's so much imprinting. I had sexual abuse. I had lifetimes of, struggle with being rape attempts, kidnappers, stalkers. So there was everything anti-pleasure. Pleasure just was not even a word I knew. So that's just to give a frame of reference of the journey. So I was wow, I'm tired of missing the flowers and the beauty. And when I got given my name, Sundari actually means divine beauty, universal beauty. I was with an enlightened master in the Himalayas in India when he gave me my name, which was probably about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And the moment he gave it to me, I started to bawl because as my soul's name is divine beauty, universal beauty. And it's a soul's recognition of what your journey is. And my journey has truly been becoming all things are so fucking beautiful. And I feel I called in and I chose to be here as the person I am and to do the work that I do. And that having, for instance, when they did a documentary of my life, they were this is way too much drama, trauma, pain, struggle. This is way too much. People won't believe it. It was more from a marketing standpoint. They're people won't believe you've been through this much trauma and through this much struggle. And it was but I have. And that was part of me having almost every single experience of hardship or what, people might call trauma, etc., that allowed me now to I literally have no judgments, no stories, no attachments, no expectations, no ideas, no programming that says anything other than what is beautiful. That we all chose it as our highest self and I can only witness and experience everything I've ever experienced in my life, every being I've ever interacted with. I believe every interaction has a purpose. And it's what am I here for? What's this message? Even a smile, it's that was an interaction for a purpose. Every single moment with every being is a gorgeous, glorious, orchestrated experience from our highest selves. So it's wouldn't we if we trusted and knew that gift in front of us in every fucking moment, wouldn't we breathe into and receive the pleasure of everything that's available? And New Earth Abundance is a complete shift from what's in my bank account, what does success look like? It's literally New Earth Abundance is when you realize you are abundant. You've always been abundant. Scarcity is a fucking lie. Because literally the sun's always shining, the grass is growing, there's animals and birds, and there's always air, and you're always, there's enough resources on our planet for all of us to be a billionaire. It's that we've had a distribution issue being in separation and operating from lower vibrational frequencies versus high levels of alignment where everyone is worthy of being supported and taken care of in all of the bliss and abundance. And that's where the New Earth is really going. So for me to come to this place where I see every experience is beautiful, every person. And I think I've told you both this about how as I got called on the global citizen journey was just being again, surrender. Where am I called to serve? I let go of $1 million clients, my magical manifestation mansion, let my boys come to Utah to live with their dad for the first time. And everything was like, shed everything that has any identity. That you come to a place of such wholeness with yourself, you are whole and complete without anything outside of you. It's like, and that's a journey, my loves, to come to that place of just absolute satisfaction, wholeness, and just being with yourself wholly in every single experience. And I remember getting called to, where was I? I was in Kona to do Isis activations. And then, it was like, where am I meant to go? And I got called to the other side of Kona, which was like volcanic rock, root chakra. And it was like, all right, code in some root chakra grounding codes here. And I got this place, my assistant got this beautiful like glass house on the volcanic rock on the beach. I'm there one day, and next thing they're like, go to quiet, go to quiet, go to quiet. And I'm like, what the? I just got here. I got this for 10 days. And it was like Kauai. And I was like, okay. So she gets me a flight, and the next morning I'm on my way to Kauai. I get to Kauai and find out a hurricane's on the way. And I was like, what the fuck? Why am I here? Why am I in Kauai? And I remember like each thing was a surrender of all the things got to be come up within me that I wasn't at peace with. Could I be at peace anywhere in the world with any situation happening? And again, what's happening in our world right now? And who do I choose to be? What's the frequency and vibration I choose to create? And it was interesting is every place I got called to was chaos happening all over the world. If you look at the line of like where I went as a global citizen, every single place chaos was fucking happening. And it's like, I got to come to bring in the codes of light or just to bring a different essence and frequency in. And I had people message me when I was quiet. They're like, like I felt you came into the astral field and you did it. And I was doing ceremony, I was doing these things. And what was interesting, the reason I share this is because as I talked to my son, again, like alchemizing that I was like, let go of who knows what's going to happen. People are like boarding up their windows and lying down the street, getting gas. And I'm like, I have, glass windows and I have no idea how to board up my house. And I just am in pure surrender of like whatever gets to happen. Right. And I had a conversation with my oldest and he said, Mom, it really suck if you died in a hurricane. And I was like, thanks, babes. I know that means you love me. Like, thank you. I know you love and you love me. And the authentic answer that came out of me was, I said, babes, you know what? I was like the only thing that comes up for me if I was to transition, because we know it's just a transition, is that I wouldn't be here with you physically. And I'm like, but I'd be here with you energetically. And in that moment, I realized, whoa, I literally have what's that word that humans even use, where it's like regrets. We have this idea like that was wrong, that was a mistake, any experience. I was like, I literally had no regrets. I saw my life as divinely perfect, whole, and complete. And I felt so clean and clear. Like, if I'm meant to transition, I transition. I love you. Like, even that there's no attachment to my boys. There's no attachments to anything outside of myself. I get to operate in a place of absolute wholeness, knowing God's self-awareness is that I am God, we are God, we're all connected, we're all here. So I'm actually choosing and creating all of this. So why would I deny any of it as my greatest, highest good? So to come from the places I have, to come to a place now where literally I can, and we could share some multidimensional orgasmic experiences, what we're opening, but it's like to have everything just be a vibration of so much appreciation and gratitude and love and light and so glorious, and every human and everything is like, that's pleasure codes. And that's what's available when we, a lot of times with the 3D eye isn't able to see what's beyond that because of, we haven't alchemized those things. But when you open up the spectrum, as you guys know, working with medicines, other things, we can see the cosmic grid, we can see light language, we can see all these things happening because we've accessed more of our capabilities of our true divine self. And that's what I believe, a start would be for people is, are you in appreciation? Are you in expectation or appreciation? Because abundance, the key to abundance is appreciation energy. So when we expect, a certain client or things to go a certain way, that's an expectation. That's saying, I'm only happy. Now I'm in codependency. I'm not in my sovereignty. My happiness depends on that thing outside of me. When we can start to see the world out of, can you practice a presence game where in every moment you're present, you're choosing to be here now in this moment. You guys know that came up huge for me in Egypt, not having a phone, my phone not working, all those things. Like, that was a big code. Like, I choose to be here now. I choose to be here now in every single moment. And can I be in bliss with every single thing that's happening in this moment? So just starting with appreciation. And then it's like, can I actually appreciate every breath of air and know that it's actually light? It's light and life force energy coming into my body versus just air. We're so like, see how we take things for granted? We're like, you guys are so into the breath play as well. It's like when you know what each breath is actually giving your body as light codes and activating a light body that your higher frequency, people knew that they have access to this breath and to play with this breath in every moment. But it's like, oh, I'm just breathing, whatever. That's the shifting, right? That's the game we get to play of like recognizing what is available for all of us to experience abundance in everywhere and everything all the time. That's why I see you guys and I'm like, and I'm just like, my heart expanded. I just feel my pussy lights up, my juices start to flow. And, you know, in a lot of my experiences around the world, as I activated that, I was in the Sacred Woods in Domino the first time, Abby, that I had kind of experience like you, where I leaned over like this mother tree and this tree was anchoring codes across the planet. And I leaned over her and literally my pussy was just starting to juice and light up. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, and from then on, it's like, yeah, that's just, you know, we access our Kundalini that is our creation energy. So many things available.
I love it so much. And I love it that the conversation of multi-dimensional appreciation, right, into every little intricate piece. And one thing that I would love to just kind of bring into the space right now is like, the question that sometimes comes into the environment is, you know, can we truly heal ourselves from all of our trauma, right? And what's fascinating is it isn't the way that I perceive it. I'm like, that isn't really a goal. Like, I mean, me at one point to release PTSD, I would say that was an incredible journey. Moving beyond that, I'm like, there's no real goal to clear it all. But the invitation and the thing that it gives us space to be and create is exactly what you're speaking about. Right? Because the less distortion that's in our field, the more we can actually experience life. Yeah. And usually when I receive that question, I'm like, the reason why we do the work is not to heal our trauma. It's actually so we can fully experience life. Because at the moment, and I'll speak on behalf of my own self, right? I know that we're all in a space of we're all still students. I would say if like 100% was like completely fully experiencing life, 5 years ago, I was probably at about 5%. And I would feel like I'm on the journey to 100 of like fully experiencing life, right? And allowing myself each day with each breath work I do, with each thing that I experience or receive, each vocal activation class that I do, whatever the thing is that I receive, whatever my personal practice is, every time I do sex magic with Abby, right? Because
every time I eat a meal.
Yeah. That awakening of a more profound experience of life. And it's like parts of it are the practice, other parts of it are the release. And what's interesting is, and speaking to actually sexuality, which we may as well go there in this conversation, is that arguably one of the most profound healing experiences I've ever had in my entire life was actually last Saturday. And myself and Abby have been really working with the energies of Mary Magdalene and Jesus recently and calling their energies in, right? And we're not Christian. However, we're open to just receiving whatever light by beings that want to come into our space, right? And they keep on coming to us. Yeah. And what unfolded was, you happy for me to share this?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always cool. She's like, whatever.
Last time I talked to you guys, you just finished sex magic. And Abby was like, I'm still integrating.
I was not even there for that conversation. No. Yeah.
And what was funny is I was lying there, and this wasn't our experience when we first came together, right? It wasn't the experience. Like our sex, we thought was the most cosmic sex in the whole planet when we first came together, and was like, oh my God, everything's coming alive at once. But now almost 3 years into the relationship, we're like, this is a whole other kettle of fish. Like, I don't have words for it anymore.
Kettle of fish. That's a good
kettle of fish.
Yeah, very, very Aussie. Oh. But the piece that I wanted to share is that with a continuous practice and devotion, because devotion is the really key word. And the thing I love about yourself, Marci, is that you're consistently devoted. There's no like, it's unwavering. Every time I see you and you're in a different hotel room, altar set up. This is here, shrines here, boom, boom, every single time. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
So good. Yes.
Doesn't stop, right? Like it's consistent devotion, consistent prayer, consistent stillness, consistent meditation. Like it's become integrated into how you show up and who you be as a human, right? And what's interesting is the range we get to experience once we connect to that higher source is profound. And that story I was going to share was that the healing I received when I just actually laid there, like more than ever before in our relationship, I let go of me doing anything in terms of our practice, right? I completely surrendered. I was like, literally my arms were like this, and I completely 3 minutes in, I wasn't even like fully present. Like something else was inside me. It wasn't actually Jared anymore. And I'm just laying back and receiving this experience. And when I opened my eyes for a split second, all I saw was Mary Magdalene. And I went, and I surrendered again. And I continued to hear this voice. And apparently I was saying it out loud. I didn't know I was saying it out loud, but apparently I kept saying, you are safe, you are safe. But that was actually for me. It wasn't for her. What was so profound is that the subtleties of the experience, because it wasn't, parts of it actually got quite intense. However, if you were to see us, like looking over us making love, it didn't look like this holy crazy thing unless you could see the energy, right? But what was happening intrinsically in our bodies was so profound, such an attunement, that when we finished, we had to lay there for like 40 minutes. And I'm like, babe, that wasn't just the best sex of my life. That was the deepest healing I've ever experienced. And I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you. I'm not even sure what to even say to you right now, except my life has changed again. So it's the first time I'm sharing that publicly, but, and the reason why when the question is asked, because people hear your story and you've gone from being kidnapped and sexually abused and all these intense things to where you are now. But what I want to really insert there, it is the continuous devotion and practice that gives you the access to that. And the cool thing is, and I'd love you to speak on this as well, is that for a lot of people, they won't actually have to go through as much as what we've been through. The gap is getting smaller, the veil is getting thinner each day. So the speed at which people can transcend is extraordinary. So I'd love you to just share on that piece as well, what your thoughts are on that.
I was just thinking about you guys in orgasmic bliss. And I just want to honor you both. I love you so much. And thank you for your journey and thank you for what you've been through. It was getting to even see you guys where you are now compared to when we first met and kind of came together. And I know Abby, as we shared, as you said, like, I've never really had divine sisters. And, and I remember being in that place and having that journey of like, women didn't feel safe, men didn't feel safe, like the world didn't feel safe. And, being yourself didn't feel safe. And just like witnessing you guys are continually always devoted, which is so beautiful because it just goes to show us we can be like, all right, like we might have a thought in the human form of like amazing sex with a divine partner would be the ideal. And it goes so far beyond that. That's still a human idea of like, needing something or something outside of ourselves or any attachments or like what something has to look like. When you come into a place, like you said the other day, Jared, that Abby had been sitting on the couch and just said, was feeling just divine fulfillment, satisfaction. I think it was right before me, you and Adam were talking. I felt so much joy in my heart again for my Abby girl and for you guys. Like, it was just like, because I know the journey of getting to a place where it's like, I'm just in full satisfaction in every moment of life. There's nothing required. There's nothing required. And what we continue to find when we align to that place of remembrance that we are divinity, we are light beings. Our divine natural state is bliss and pleasure and unconditional love. Like, there's nothing you could ever do and I wouldn't unconditionally love you. There's no parameter. There's no, it's like, it's just unconditional love. It's just, even these human words are like, there's no way to even express that it's unconditional love and acceptance and compassion and all that. And that's why I can feel as we open up our systems, as we are designed to be feeling bodies, to act and operate through our sacral and to operate through our heart-centered consciousness, to actually use our heart brain, right, to lead and guide us. It's like, I can feel you guys when you talk about that experience. So I'm literally just like, I don't know what you asked me, but I'm just still feeling the bliss. And this is actually really beautiful because it is a connection to the new earth human codes. Because Abby, I believe we might have talked about this in Egypt, is that, a lot of the ways that, the original sons of God, you could call them many things, the divine beings that as we created some of the portals and the things operating here, we had a lot of our multidimensional capacities. And as we came and we destoried and we had this human experience, we forget how to operate from those until we activate and awaken our DNA again. And one of those is that because I am you and you are me and we are one and we are connected, I feel the level of bliss and pleasure that you feel. I want you to fucking experience all the bliss and pleasure and the abundance and the ease and the grace and the joy. And I'm like, that's why I celebrate you, girl. I'm like, you look at, I'm like, babes, oh, you look so divine and luscious. And I feel your lusciousness for just your sexiness of who you are. I feel your essence. And, as you feel things when you and Jared and we had that beautiful experience, Jared mentioned it, I think, on our call with the panel. about the experience of your relationship and how something came up. And I was just kind of sitting and holding the field and we're all just in it together. It's like, I felt the little girl pain of feeling like you couldn't fully express. And I felt Jared's contraction in his body. And that's why being so fucking tapped in micro alignment is why I can be a Jedi that I do what I do. Because I can see the little interconnections of micro alignments of belief systems and programs operating. And it's because we're operating at a higher capacity of feeling, that I can feel everything happening. And I'm so tapped in. The moment there's a subtlety of something that is a distortion in the field, the highest resonance of unconditional love is like, oh, interesting. What am I feeling? What's happening here? What is that? And I can come back into alignment to then, let whatever wants to be healed and revealed to come forth, to then let these little fractals that are kind of leaving our bodies through this time and releasing from our systems to move through, that I'm operating at even a higher frequency of love and light. And it's so the code that we originally had that people have forgotten and made dormant in their systems is that we can feel the amount of bliss you feel, I feel. How fucking cool is that world? Where literally it's like you just want everyone to be achieving their greatest heart's life. I do a manifestation practice every day, and it's one of the things I teach where it's like sending out. I literally you can envision someone that you have a resistance to, but it's like every day as I do my own clearings and ceremonies, I'm literally sending heart-centered consciousness. I'm sending this frequency out across the planet as I'm coding in what we're creating in our newer systems and community, and I'm sending Trump love, and I'm sending all anything in the field that is not in the highest resonance of wholeness, sending them love. And sending them their heart's greatest desires be fulfilled. A blessing that their heart's greatest desires be fulfilled. If you felt that way towards every person, so imagine if now everyone in the world is having their heart's greatest desires fulfilled, and you can feel and experience that. I mean, we're just in constant bliss. That is the new human. That is the new earth. I feel your guys's, the next thing you create and achieve, and I'm like, oh, guys, I'm so happy for you. And I feel this level of joy in my own system as if I achieved it, as if I had the very experience, because that has been activated within my system. So that's what's available for us. When there's no separation, there is no comparison, like Abby said. There's no judgment or anything. There's just simply what's my greatest highest joy? What's the most nourishing for my soul? And that's part of activating the pleasure codes. Many people that follow me in my programs, you guys know I'm constantly ooh, what's the most nourishing for my soul? What would create more joy right now? How could this be fun and easy? And I'm asking the questions of activating and opening my heart and creating even more bliss, more joy, more love that's available to see beyond the illusion, to open up what else is available. So, I mean, I don't know what you asked me, Jared. That's where I went. I was just I feel you guys. That feels amazing. And then I just went down some sort of a pathway based on that.
Whatever reason.
Perfect. I'm loving that.
Your spirit answered the question that needed to be answered. And that's all that actually matters. I don't even need to go back and reframe the question, because whatever gets spoken about in the space is always perfect, right? Because we're connecting to such a higher field. So it's irrelevant.
What's beautiful and is kind of present now is we're beginning to speak into a level of what is available that most people never hear, because a lot of people also, Abby, you're like, all right, I'm going to be real. I'm going to tell you about my pussy juices. I had my Align to Manifest call yesterday with all my peeps in that program. And I got to share with them some of my experiences that are happening. I'm like, hi guys, literally it is what is. It's let's talk about all things that are available, because the old world or way of being is fear of judgment, rejection, hold back, etc. It's how will you even know? So this is the thing. We don't know that those reference points even exist until someone starts talking about it, until we have the references for it, or activate it within ourselves. Because the new reference points I've been experiencing lately, where I've literally gone into orgasmic, sensual, God fucking, universal fucking all night long, no medicine, nothing, just activates in my system. And I'm primal, blah, blah, all night long. And I'm ow, I've now activated that, which was something it used to take. I've had experiences on 5-MeO and doing some medicine journeys. And it's whole new reference point for me that bliss and orgasmic state is available without ever being touched, without ever it's just tapping into the sensuality of the universe and that connection. And as I was speaking into the codes of, how much more bliss and pleasure I can receive, and then all of a sudden that got activated. So unless someone shares it, when I shared that the other day on my call, everyone was just first off, no one's ever talked about all these things. And they're that's it's a new reference point of what's possible. So you guys sharing what you're experiencing in your relationship
Yeah.
I mean, I'm experiencing in my relationship, it's like in wholeness codes. It's like most humans don't even know that kind of operating in relationship can exist, because it's like there's stories or programs or ideas or attachments or needs from other people. You show up this way, it's a transactional love. We've been taught conditional versus unconditional. Unconditional is like literally like, you know, I want my beloved to experience the highest level of bliss, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing but you are worthy of all the bliss and the pleasure, and I am as well. And how does that get to look when we love and honor each other in that way? So I just love that you guys are an example of that, as you get to share, Abby, as I've seen you guys kind of go down. Like, I think it was you guys, when you guys were in the States and we got to connect over at the Temple of Wholeness, and you went there for sexual diving, deep diving, and working through the sexual experiences. So, I mean, one thing you said, Jared, was, can people heal their traumas? And again, like you, I don't really even use that word ever. Yeah. I don't even think of my experiences as traumas, because again, I see them all as my gifts. So there's nothing to heal. There's nothing to fix. You are not broken. You've always been perfectly fucking whole. And you actually chose every single experience. And we know this consciously. We know this in the conscious world. We talk about this. But can you embody that? Can you fucking embody that you're in love with every single experience you've ever had, every person you've ever interacted with, every gift they've ever given you, and everything in front of us? That's the embodiment of what is available for us, where we are just simply operating from there's infinite love, and it just keeps expanding. So thank you for being an example of that, my loves.
So good. I'm actually connected. So as you can imagine, Abby and I are so connected, as are you two as well. And how deeply Abigail is feeling in this moment, like everything you're saying.
Just like my whole body. There's so many things that I could say, and I'm just like feeling with this, and I feel so activated. And really, like, this is something I'm so passionate about, is talking about pleasure and radiance as a woman, you know. And I feel that this is something that the new earth is asking of us, is to actually claim and embody and embrace our radiance. And it's something personally that I've been journeying with, because what I noticed is, and I've caught myself recently, is I've still suppressed my radiance as a woman. It's kind of, you know, I've been able to get to a certain point, and then I'm kind of like holding back, suppressing, just not quite like fully just expanding into that whole energetic of radiance through my being. And I noticed it even in a womb experience that I've recently was in, and we had these little pods with the women that we were connecting with each day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm going through this womb journey, and it's profound, like really, you know, deep layers that we're traversing through these different multidimensional spaces, and deep down into the layers of the matter of the body, you know, into our womb. And I'm doing it, like I'm going in, I'm surfing it, I'm experiencing, I'm releasing, but it's not traumatic. It's not feeling heavy. It's like the sounds and the vibrations that are being channeled from the earth up through my yoni into my heart are very orgasmic, very pleasurable, you know, very just profound. And I noticed in this group, you know, I was going to the land, I was connecting to the land, I was feeling like bliss with the land. I'm like connecting to the spirits. I'm like fucking the water, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm coming back onto my pod, and we have these chats. And I noticed some of the women are going through their experiences, right? And they're a little bit more like the denser frequencies that they're feeling at that time in their own journey, and they're sharing. And then I noticed myself not want to share fully the bliss and the fucking joy and the pleasure that I'm experiencing. I challenged myself to do it. I was like, no, I'm breaking this pattern of suppressing myself for what other people are experiencing, you know, toning it down because it's too much. Yeah. And because other people need women and men, representatives of us that are really fully embracing that, so that they know that it's possible, that they can actually see it, they can start to feel it themselves, give them permission. So I'm on this call, and I just went for it. I was like, I am feeling the most orgasmic pleasure that I have ever felt in my life. You know, this ecstatic current is just like flowing through me, and I couldn't deny it. I couldn't suppress it anymore. But I did notice how the energetic shifted when I did that. You know, when I did fully expand into that, there was a kind of like, oh, you know, well, she's experiencing that and I'm experiencing this. And I had a couple of the women reach out to me and just honor me for it, because it really challenged their thinking, because I know for a lot of women in this work that we can get very stuck in these like loops of kind of suffering. You know, it's like, fuck, I've got to feel it all. I've got to feel it all. It's got to be intense. It's got to be deep. It's got to be like, you know, and actually it doesn't have to be that. And what I'm healing through the subtle, even vibrations of pleasure and matter that my cells are now vibrating. I'm constantly alive, like the elements are in my being, and it's constantly like shifting and moving and releasing. And with every breath, like you said, I'm just like transmuting and then coming back into more bliss. So I'm like, far out, you know, it doesn't have to be so traumatic. Even the word trauma, like we said, it doesn't have to be. So I know there's a piece of that, but
I think that's really important for people, because, you know, I witness it where, like, again, my call yesterday, I did a live breakdown, a breakthrough call, and I can take someone within minutes, then go into feeling, and we can take it to like laughing and excitement, the shifting everything. And they're like, this is something that was stuck in their bodies. I had a woman yesterday where she literally hadn't felt her womb for 5 to 6 years. She had a belief. I know. And within minutes, literally I said something and coded something in, and it just activated. And she was like, oh, like something dropped out of her system. And it was like, and it doesn't have to be hard. And so much of the pattern is that there's got to be this long process. And this is just surface self-empowerment distortions that we created, when we're truly divine beings, where it's our access point. We are already this is our natural state. So there's a little we get to feel through things, and feeling actually gets to feel so good. So again, we shift and we go, wow, can I really feel this? But we all see feeling like pain, pay attention inside now, feeling to be like, ooh, like we relish in feeling the depth of the sadness. Because like, whoa, can I feel and be with all of this? And this is so different. And it doesn't have to be traumatic or hard or struggle. It's like, oh, and the next thing you know, it's like the emotional alchemy happens and your whole system is lighter. So it's like, people see where they're like been so afraid of feeling or so afraid of these things, and it just takes a little bit of guidance. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, their whole system's lighter. I'm like, that's all it took, baby. It's all good. Oh, and then we turn to fun and joy. And it's like, it doesn't have to be this hard struggle. It's just about being willing to be human. That's why I love doing my retreats and the things that I do with people. It's like, I love to get in. I loved it when we were all crawling on our bellies in the dirt, under in the tunnels, down through. We get up and I swear we all wore white that day. In dirt from just crawling on our bellies, and then we're like in the belly of under the pyramid, and we're like, like toning, and you did a meditation, and we're just like, it's just so, there's so much to feel being in the messy and being in the multidimensional. All things are available for us.
So good.
It is, I think, so valuable. You do this so well, Abby, my love. You do this so well, is that you are speaking to like pleasure, abundance, like step in, like this is what we're here for. This is what we get to receive. And so many people are stuck in the suffering, the struggle, and especially at this time where we get to feel it all. And I be with all things, and like I can witness everything that's going on. And I know that I am a divine being that chooses my experience. And I can still, when we got on this call, I was like, guys, I had like the first day I've had in a while where I literally felt a lot of human stuff, and I felt a lot of triggers, and I just got to be with all that and alchemize that, and then bring it to a place of where now I'm like fucking on, like, because that's our opportunity to be in all of it. But it doesn't have to be so hard. It really doesn't. That's what's so beautiful. Hard is our story. So what I like to bring it to is we bring in a piece of integration, because I like to we get to integrate what we're talking about. We get to bring the micro alignments together, that we create a different experience. Otherwise, we're just talking a bunch of great stuff. And people are like, that sounds awesome. Pleasure. We get to bring it into integration. And that how can we, in each moment be able to allow ourselves to move through stuff. And so, even as we start to just go, how am I choosing to see what's in front of me? How am I choosing to see this world? What am I choosing to experience right now? Instead of looking for hardship, I like to say this is the easy path. As I can say, if we look at whatever story we're having, what thought was I just having? What feeling was I having? What's ideas here? Is that creating suffering? Or is that creating contraction in my body or expansion? And it's so simple when we make energy black and white. We just go, oh, am I in love? Am I in unconditional love right now? Or am I in separation? Am I in contraction or am I in expansion? Simple. The energy will never lie. It's like, oh, I kind of have a guard up with this person. Why? Interesting. Oh, I had a thought that a judgment. Wow, where did that come from? What's the imprinting there? Is that really true? And we get to alchemize it to then create a new, all right, like you, Abby, like, and Jared, I've seen you guys so much where it's like, all right, this is what I'm practicing. We say all the time, this is what I'm practicing. This is what I'm focused on. This is what I'm creating experience with. So you're like, I'm choosing to practice speaking into my wholeness, my like the level of my fullest expression, because we've had such a journey of going, it's not safe to fully express. It's not safe to fully be. It's not safe to fully, whatever comes out of me, comes out of me. I just know it is. And it's, if I'm a perfect divine being, then whatever comes out of me obviously had a reason to come out, right? And so speaking into, I'm practicing this. And so you catch, just like you like, I could, okay, I'm going to just say all these things because that is my next level of this is my norm, that then gives also each of us a permission slip from each other. This is why we're such beautiful divine reflections of each other. Everything that you're experiencing is just a reflection of what's going on inside. So when they can go, wow, you can have that amount of pleasure. Ooh, that feels like too much in my system. Adam said this when you were talking about the first time he interviewed me. He wanted me to do a show on, I don't know, $1 million something because I had $1 million clients. And when I shared with him my process of when that alchemized, he was just like, in his body was like, I can't do that. That didn't feel true in his body. And yet having that conversation and me holding the field of that, he literally turned around. I don't know how long it was, but he turned around and created his first $1 million client. And it was because he had a reference point and also could work through like, oh, let's alchemize this in our systems to now go, oh, that's what's available and that's what's possible. So that's a beautiful gift that you guys are, is that you're constantly showing people the next level, the next level, the next level by choosing, what am I practicing? What am I noticing? Oh, what did I catch here? A little bit of contraction. How do I open up to this? How do I bring in some breath? How do I question these stories and ideas? And how do I practice a new behavior, a new pattern, a new thought, a new belief? Then that becomes our norm. So again, now I only see everyone as beautiful and beloveds because I've been practicing that for so long. I would practicing everything out of love and light, hearing everything out of love and light. And if I heard something that what didn't sound like love, I got to look at my own shit because it's of me to shift and change, not of someone else outside of me. And that's just a practicing game. It's just a play game. We're just here playing.
It's funny because I love the playfulness, and there's a couple of pieces I really want to just like bring presence to. So first piece that I love is the way that I feel the three of us really perceive this is like there is no, call it a desire to be, like speaking to sexuality as an example, there's no desire to be a sex expert, right? What
the fuck even is a sex expert? Seriously, we all have the luxury and the availability to have this energy. It's a part of who we are. There are no experts.
There's a real
different experiences. Comparison. It's like I'm so glad you're bringing that in.
There's a realization, in particular when I think about the three of us, it comes really true, is like there's no real desire to be an expert. But what we are interested in is being the people that normalize everything. Like when we facilitate our retreats, like we're not going to say that we're sex experts. We're not even breathwork experts. That's not who we are. Yeah. What we are here to actually do and create, and the people I love to surround myself with are people that are just willing to have the conversations and lean into the process, right? Because when I think about something like sex, I'm like, sex is probably the deepest rabbit hole we can go down. And there will never be a time, even 40 years from now, I'm like, oh, I'm an expert now. I'm like, it is so deep. I'm like, there is so much more to learn. I'm like, call myself an expert. And what's interesting, and what I heard you say that you've been doing in your tribe was like you've been sharing a bit of your stories around pleasure and sexuality. And what you're actually doing is you're normalizing it. What's happening is for a lot of people, they have resistance to the conversation. They don't necessarily need to attend the temple night with a tantric community. That's not going to heal their trauma. That may be re-traumatize them. What gets to actually unfold, what gets to be felt and experienced for the masses of humanity is actually, we get to actually normalize these conversations. Yep. Whether it's around making $1 million or it's around having an explosive orgasm and connecting with spirit, right? Whichever version of it is we want to speak about. Because the biggest piece that people are navigating right now, and I feel that the key, and I know that you've spoken about this really poetically over the years, is like, any piece of ourself that we're in resistance to is blocking the flow of energy into our space, blocking the flow of abundance. So it's interesting, and what I love about our conversation is like we're speaking to it from a place of understanding that all we're really here to do is move through whatever resistance is here, bringing it back to the simplicity of the black or white, right? It's like all we're really here to do is like, oh, was that shared? Oh, and wow, there's resistance there. Okay, cool. So whatever's here for me, there is a gift on the other side of that. You always shared really powerfully. It's like, this is not a trauma. This is a gift, and something that we've been sharing, and I know that you're very famous for as well, is like, what if we didn't perceive it as a bad thing? What if we actually celebrated it from the beginning? So as an example, we're in a relationship, we're in a conversation with a friend, with our parents. And what if we actually thanked the person for triggering us? Thank you for giving me clarity, because now I have the ability to go, wow, there's this energy that's trapped in my heart that I get to actually move through, right?
You wouldn't even know was there without them having the experience. It's like, thank you. I mean, you guys, all of us, I think in Egypt, I don't know how many times we said thank you, because that's just something I speak into all day long around everything.
Totally.
We coded in our food. Thank you, Pachamama. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you, all the plants, animals, and people that created this. And like coded in with light to fill our systems. We're like, thank you. Like every experience we're having, like, thank you. So it's like, that is such a big, beautiful piece. I just really want to bring presence to what you said there, which is if you're applying that to your so-called traumas or experiences in life, it's a completely shift when you see everything out of thank yous. And then you bring that forth into your life. It's huge.
Totally. And I'm really grateful because, and this is like one of the points people asking the panel, they're like, what is one of the greatest things tools to use to navigate your deep processes? And I'm like, actually, sometimes it's really good just to have fucking high level people around you that love you deeply and can see you and hold you in a higher light, right? Because there was moments I can remember there was one moment where I was in in a bit of a way. I remember us being on where were we? We were at that really incredible hotel at the end of the trip.
Oh yeah, wherever we were, that was fucking awesome.
It was fucking next level, right?
That was
the best luxury. That place was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was next level. But I can remember, and I want to mention this because this is an example of it, right? So what we were speaking about was the energy of divinity, right? Because the retreat that we're facilitating in Egypt is called Divinity. And I was talking about the energy of divinity. And what I brought forward was that in our Just Breathe free challenge, what was unfolding was a lot of the women that were in the container started calling me God man. And I had this resistance to, I'm like, God man. I'm like, I had this resistance to even identifying myself as the frequency of God, right? And what was interesting as I brought it forward was I'm like, I'm noticing, I said to you out loud, I'm like, I'm noticing I have a self-judgment around someone calling me that and me also saying that about myself. And this is an example, right? And having someone that can reflect back to you in a powerful way when you're like, oh, I notice within myself, like I have a resistance to say, like I have resistance saying that I am God or I embody the energy of God or anything like that. And instantaneously, I remember the words you said, I'm not sure if you remember you said, but you're like, you are God. Mm-hmm. So am I.
I know, like you are God.
And so is everybody else. Like everybody else is God. It's the simplicity sometimes. Remembering that we are all, like, and as you said earlier, is like we are all divinity. We are already divine, and it's that remembrance of that. But again, like having the containers that allow you to be accountable and be able to express, because I expressed that because I felt safe to share that. I felt like I was in a space where I wasn't going to be judged, and I got to like actually speak. Like, okay, this is what I'm navigating. It's really interesting. Like my body's responding in this way when I say this thing, and I want to share it here because I want you guys to kind of give me some reflections. So just another key piece for people is really finding people that you can have that connection with, that give you the access to be like, I need to share this. I'm trying to understand it. And what I would love is a reflection from people that can just hold me in a vibration of love. Because what that's given me access to, and the Matilda who's on this call right now has also been another reflection of this as well in my life, is like I can say, I was talking to her on the phone yesterday, I'm like, I can just speak. There's no filtration, right? And I can share some of the deepest stuff, like the most deep private stuff, and it'll just keep coming out. There'll be no resistance, right? It's having the safety to practice that, because then what unfolds is the more that and what you do so beautifully, what Adam does really beautifully as well, is the more that you have safe containers, again, to practice that in, start to embody it when you're speaking out loud to everybody else.
Yeah.
Creating those safe containers of like, wow, it's actually, I feel really safe to explore all of this here. And I feel like there's no judgment here. It's pure unconditional love, especially with women. That gives me the ability to practice, to then be able to come into a container and be like, I am God. And so are you. And so is your sister. And so is your mom. So is your grandfather. So is your dog. Every single part of us is actually God. Right. And
so deeply because of that. But you practiced it. I don't know if you remember after you told us that, and we were like, well, you are. We're like, cool. How many times can you say you're God? How many times can we reflect for you, you're God? Like you began like, all right. So you got to practice embodying it. I love that you're bringing forth, because it's like, you guys know, and we've all done it, where we're like, we're calling only our divine allies, our besties of light, that get to like reflect this level of consciousness and operating. And the other thing I want to bring forth for people, because a lot of people listening to this might be like, well, fuck, I'm screwed. I don't have those people in my life. I don't have those containers. Well, guess what? you become the container for yourself first.
Yeah.
You see it and embody it first to then create the reflections of it showing up in your world. So until I was like, I honor myself fully, I get to, like Abby talked about practicing, like I get to practice being this kind of person. You can catch it for yourself. It's our responsibility to catch for ourselves. Again, not to wait for something outside of us, like amazing friends or amazing. And this is the thing, it's all available. Like you guys create these containers that are available for people who go like, whoa, I can speak up here. I can practice my expression. I can share all things. So it's available. And if we go, well, I have to wait till that comes in. No, it's actually like, how do I create that? How do I become that person? So there's both those levels of embodiment. And you did it, Jared, by, then focusing on practicing and embodying that, where now, like, you're like, yeah, you're God, you're God, you're God, you're God, everyone's God. And you're embodying it. And there was that time when you're like, well, it feels like I can't really say that and resonate with that. And when you said that at the beginning, I laughed because I call my beloved God King Beloved. Right, because he's like twin ray of light, a reflection of twin ray of light, and God King Beloved, because it's like, how can you be anything other than a God and a king and a beloved and like all these things? Like, so words to me like boyfriend, I just don't like, what does that mean? Right? Like when we look at our languaging, it's all over vibrational versus like what is actually available. So again, can you embrace you being the highest vibration of light? And if there's resistance to that, beautiful. What is it that gets to be alchemized to receive what's on the other side? So yeah, I just wanted to share how you practiced that and you embodied it, It's
coming back to devotion. It's fascinating because there's no story in between. What's unfolded for me is discipline became a really big part of my life. Mm-hmm. And I realized that it was a key element for me to actually create the life that I wanted. Like it was a starting point. And then practice over time, discipline became devotion. Mm-hmm. And devotion is like, there's no story in between, I should do this. This is the right thing to do for my embodiment. It's just like, okay, so this is present. I want to move through this now. And then as soon as I receive what I need, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm going to practice it now. Now from this day forward, I'm just going to continue to practice it until it feels organic and natural and it flows. And I don't have to even think about it again. And it just comes out. And I can just like be like responsive in a beautiful way. Like, oh yeah, I'm God. That's it. There's no story. And noticing how there's no feeling in my body because there's the practice of it, which essentially is a key to embodiment. But I would love to just stop here for a second and just...
I want to open it up to some questions.
Yeah, I'd love to have some questions.
Does anyone have any juicy questions?
1 second. I'm sorry, baby.
Sorry. I want to talk as well.
Sorry. You get to talk, babe.
I'm talking now.
You get to talk. I just wanted these guys to popcorn into the comments. What's some of the things that have really landed for them in this conversation?
As they're doing questions, what's the most alive for you, Abs?
What's most alive for me?
Right now from all that conversation, what's there for you?
I'm turned on by this woman. Like every time I look at her, I'm like, Jesus, woman.
Yeah, I feel I've been on such a journey, sister, the past 4 months. I went into, my own descent. And I notice now, even looking back 4 months ago, the programs around the kind of self-punishment in that experience. It was like, I'm a triple Scorpio. I like being in the shadow. I like the depth. I love the magic. I love the mystery. I don't like fluff. I like intensity, all of these things. But then how much I was kind of like getting really stuck in that as well. And this has been a cycle through my life, through, making things fucking hard for myself, not truly embracing my light, the light that is within me, the light that is constantly with me. And I feel that this past 4 months has been such a shift in my consciousness, in my embodiment. I've let go of all of these things outside of myself that I was seeking validation, I was seeking significance, I was seeking all these pieces that are not wrong. Like it's not wrong. It's just where I was at the time. And I've come into a real deep place of wholeness. I feel for the first time in my life, like I shared with you, it actually makes me want to cry. Woo!
Yeah, baby. Perfect.
Yeah, I feel, in this letting go and this slowing down, just connecting to myself at a much deeper level, and the devotion of connecting to Mary Magdalene more, my womb, just my own energy, my pleasure. I feel so whole and I feel so empowered. I feel so free. There's just more pleasure that's coming through me, and my channel is opening more. So I'm in a really beautiful space.
Oh, I love it. It's really squishy.
Yeah, I feel so grateful, and this Unify container has been so profound for me to hold it in a new way, because before I would be very much I'd be very much like having to do all the pieces and feel very in control of the program even. I needed that to feel enough, yeah. And now I don't need to be doing that all the time. I'm noticing how my energy is much better when I'm, serving myself, choosing myself, my own practices, getting in my body, honoring the land. And then that energy is rippling into Jared, which is fueling his body more, his light more, his purpose more. And yeah, I'm feeling like a deep connection to the earth, more so than I ever have done before. And yeah.
It's embodiment. I think your last embodiment retreat, you came out of that and stayed at my place. Maybe it was the time before your last embodiment retreat. And I witnessed you go from I experienced the retreat a whole different way. I'm letting go of and I've seen that evolution you've done to where it's you honor yourself. There's other people who can step in and play the roles so that you are such just a higher vibration of light. It does so much more. And that's actually a very important piece to the new human, is that we know when we're operating this high vibration of light, again, you let go of all the stories of shoulds and needs and have to's and all the lower vibrational, programming and things that have been operating in our behaviors and our patterns. And you're operating from a high resonance and a high frequency that transmits through the whole field. That creates abundance with these, all the different things, because the frequency, that's why I always say frequency is my highest priority. Peace is my highest priority. My frequency is always number one, because that's how I feel others with love, by being the highest frequency. And I just want to honor you, love, because I've really seen you go through that journey of you know what? This is the piece that does feel good. The rest of those pieces don't feel good. And letting go of showing up a certain way, which is all bullshit anyways, to show the way that you have, which has filled up Jared and more of your team and all the things that you've been able to do. And I feel you, babes, and I honor you. I've seen that journey that you've been going through, and I feel so, so joyful to be able to witness hearing you and feel it in your body of you experiencing that level of coming to wholeness with it and coming to peace and resonance with just all right, I've done the last cycle of getting in the story of struggle, and you've really stepped into sharing the pleasure and the things that are available and embodying that now as your new norm. So babes.
Thank
so
you,
good.
my heart. And this is a big piece, is opening through the heart. There's so much available in our heart space right now, more than ever. And for me to experience more pleasure as well as a woman, the gateway has been my heart, really opening and expanding through the heart. And, a closed woman in her heart, her pussy's closed as well. They're intricately connected. It's a channel, so the more that you can open and expand into that and receive, the more your yoni, the more your pussy's going to open, the more that pleasure your man's going to receive, you are going to receive. So it's really been an important piece for me.
Men and women, because we're harmonizing all that we are. So, talking womb spaces, men also have the womb space. You know this, Jared. Open up all that you are to have, greater abilities to access it all. So
I'm always speaking about my womb. At the retreat, I'm always saying my womb. I don't even explain it. I just say my womb. I just go straight to the conversation. And what's interesting is, so that's really, I want people to really care, because I
just want to say thank you for sharing that. That was really, I appreciate what you shared. Thank you, my lover.
You're glowing. It's incredible. It's whoa. It's whoa. Yeah. Literally, I can't stop looking at it. I'm just literally she.
You can look at her and talk, and it's okay. We all understand.
Yeah, I lose my words sometimes. She was standing on top of the stairs yesterday. I was speaking in gibberish. I'm babe, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it was just all this word vomit. I'm you're incredible. That's all that came out. That was it. But
that's the adoration that's available. There's nothing but adoration and just honoring and respect and absolute love and yes.
Something that Abby shared that I want people to really hear, because I understood and believed this prior. However, in this moment, the level to which the depth of which we're experiencing it is profound. And what's unfolded is Abby's taken a step back. She's been doing tantric practices like every day. Like she's literally breast massages like all the time, like constantly in ritual, like just constantly in ritual. And what's fascinating is we used to both show up from the front, right? We used to both be the leaders of the business in many facets, whether it's on the videos, the coaching, the team, whatever it is. And Abigail's kind of like stepped back. And what's interesting is I've always had quite a lot of energy, but as she's stepped back and she's actually intentionally fueling my system, I can just go for days. I don't run out of energy. I'm like, forever, just keep going. It's 11 p.m. at night. I'm like, babe, I've got so much energy. This is crazy. I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's so funny, but I just want to speak to that because it's such a key point that is spoken about, right? And different tantra teachers and all that kind of stuff speak to it. But I wanted to like share it from a place of like actually truly deeply experiencing it and feeling nourished as a man. And having a woman that is literally doing things for myself, for our relationship, for our business in the energetic plane that we don't even quote unquote see, but are yielding massive transformation and impact and prosperity. And like it's literally to the level at which it's happening.
Coding into the field. She's totally
Exactly.
into the energetic field and just laying it all out there. And then it's just fucking ease and grace. It's yes.
We're even talking about the next retreat. We're like, Abby may not even actually be in the room that much. She may actually be in a different room doing her own practices and embodiment practices during the actual ceremonies and energetically working with her light body to actually, hold the space. This Unify container as an example is a good example. I'm sharing this story, guys, because as you develop your facilitation, it's like it looks so different to what you think it should look like. And
light bar, it is completely different. And I mean, this could be a whole nother conversation. I know. It is. It's what's available. I mean, so much of it's interesting what, the journey I've been on where people saw me as like I was like the Body Mind Mentor on TV. And then I was the Fuck Yes Life Mentor and and then I was the $1 Million Mentor. And now I'm known as a spiritual teacher. And yet the access points or the variation, it's like, the things that I do, it's like I'm constantly coding into the field and I'm super multidimensional and doing all these things that would have been way woo-woo. And it's like, that is what is available. It's not, let's have these, surface self-empowerment conversations about these things. It's like, actually, let's just go right to the fucking energy and let's energetically grid this bitch and rock this all out. Done. It's seriously that easy. I teach so much of the stuff that is just like, it would have been so woo-woo to me before, but it's like, this is what I do every day. Like I encode in every single night, my safe portal of sleep and my multidimensional self is like, my whole body's regenerating, recharging. The other day, this lady in Bali was so sweet. Before I came over to the States, this lady in Bali, because in Bali, I was sharing with you guys how I'm like, I don't know how to use the dishwasher, how to use a washing machine anymore. It's been so long. And then in Bali, a lot of times they'll want to like come every day. And I'm like, you do not need to come every day. Take the day off. And this cute little lady, she had the day off. And I was like, how did you spend your day? And she's like, oh, I spent it with my son. And I was like, oh, how's your son? And had a conversation with her. And I was like, yeah, my boys. And she's like, what? You have kids? Because I told her my kids are 17 and 13, right? Like Sky and Gav are now, Super Sky Guy, 17, and Gavin the Great is 13. And she was like, no, I don't believe. And I was like, let me show you a picture of my boy. she's like, oh, I thought you 20, you young. And I was like, I love you. That's glorious. It's like, and that's stretching it a bit. I'm sure I do all the time get people that think I'm way younger than I am. And it's part of been encoding into my field. Literally, like I know as a divine light being, I'm literally getting younger every day. So I've been doing this for years where I'm just like, I code in every night that my body regenerates, completely restructures. I give commands and demands to my cells, to my physical body. And I've continued to see myself. You look at pictures of me 10 years ago, I look 10 years younger or 10 years older than I do 10 years ago. Like, or how does that work? I look super fucking young now compared to where I was 10 years before and 20 years before, and people now think Skylar's always gets mistaken for my little brother. We go to foreign countries and they're like, ooh, me mama. He like gets these guys that like want to hit on me. And he's like, ooh, or no, they say like Hermana, like, ooh, your sister? And he's like, no, me mama. I'm like, babes, it's a compliment. It's good, So yeah, that's just part of, if we bring in a human thing that most humans are like, I want to look younger. You're just becoming a light body. the anti-aging, if you call that, because that's opposite of what I would say, like I'm eternally youthful, is because I am a light body. And the more cleansing and clearing of my vessel and traumas, etc. Again, the new earth humans, we operate from a place of I'm a God vessel. My health reflects my vessel of light. My energy reflects my vessel of light. The amount of pleasure is because I'm at a high frequency. I'm a light body. To be enlightened, enlightenment is to be in light. So we are just cleansing and clearing. So all that Abby's doing now, she's like, that doesn't make sense for me to go in and dive into people's stories when I can just be over in a room being like, pussy pleasure. She's like, yeah. I've experienced recently, I was telling my Aligned to Manifest, I've been so multidimensional in the astral plane at night, literally helping my peeps in my program, just clearing their energy, lifetime stuff. And then one of them messaged today and they were like, yep, Marci was in my dreams and she brought this in and told me exactly how to do this. And I was like, yeah, that's what we're doing at night. Like we're just fucking healing the planet. And then we're and you can wake up more refreshed because you know how to shift and code that in. So it's like, things are just so easy when we're operating from our multidimensional capacity. We just get to activate all that we actually are and our abilities. So aho and ashe and sadnam to that.
Boom, sister. Oh, wow. This is just epic. I'm loving this. And I'm just celebrating you because you are absolutely like divinely radiant, glorious sunbeam of beauty. Yeah. And we talk about it all the time. We're like, fuck, Marci's just gloriously gorgeous.
You could tell us that you're 25 and be like, yeah, I'm 25. But because we don't really even pay attention to years or anything.
It doesn't matter. It has no reference.
But it's like if in our humanness, if you were to say you're 25, I'm like, yeah, she's 25.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of questions here that I feel I want to pop into the space, and I would love, like, two of them I want to ask. The reason why I want to ask is they're kind of typical questions, but I want you to share your perception on them because I know that you'll bring value, right? Because you'll be able to speak to like why the question was actually asked in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. First one is that kind of already know your answer to this, but I want these guys to hear it, is like, how do you know when you found your purpose?
Well, you don't actually have to ever know because you are the purpose. There's no purpose outside of you. That's the simple answer, is that, again, humans say, oh my God, when will someday I be enough? Like when I need to be doing this thing, I should do something else. Like when do I find that thing that validates who I am, that makes me feel worthy, that makes me feel like I'm enough in this world, or, brings purpose or makes me more money or whatever their validation reasons are. The truth is you are the purpose. Mm-hmm. You are this very moment, whatever you're experiencing. Again, now if we're divinity and we're God and we've literally laid it all out for us to experience the most glorious experience, everything we're experiencing right now would never be wrong. It is our most glorious experience. So every person we interact with, every experience we have, whatever trigger comes up, whatever ever happens is our purpose. Now notice, let's say, like, for instance, let's look at my journey and the journey of going through, kind of the shares of the different experiences I had to be here now experiencing this. If I didn't have every single one of those experiences, which I was the purpose. So it's like that purpose, me being the purpose, whatever was in front of me to experience, my mess became my message. I am the purpose the entire time to then get to, like, it's just to remember and discover our divinity. So if we put it in a framework for everyone, I'd say our purpose, the reason we're here in this safe, sacred playground of our divinity, is to discover our unapologetic expression and uniqueness of us, of every single one of us. So you are the purpose. There's no thing you have to get to or something to be like, oh, I've done it, I found it. You simply are it in every single fucking moment. You are the purpose.
Yeah, nothing much else needs to be said. And what's interesting is I asked that question intentionally because there's two questions that were there. The other question was, and I knew you would go, I was so connected to you, I knew you would go there, is the other question was, why did we choose our trauma? But you answered them both in the one question, right? It's the exact same answer. It's like, we chose this to be the deeper embodiment of ourselves and our true nature, right? So
Renee said, when is Abby and Marci doing a sex magic sisterhood retreat?
Fun.
That would be awesome.
Whatever feels the most nourishing to our souls. I can always do sex magic with my Abby girl.
Yeah. Just pleasure, sensuality, beauty,
all the things,
pleasure.
It's not just sex magic. I mean, sex magic is one of the things that we utilize as a tool. I told you guys, because of the day that I had as I was clearing my energy, I went to some sex magic ritual to like really clear my channel before coming on here to be the high vibration. And that's just one tool to access, I'll say assemblage points within our system of our rainbow light body, and to access higher levels of frequency and remembrance, etc. But that's just one tool. That's just one little play tool that we have to access our multidimensionality. And you can bring it into this moment. It's not when I learn sex magic, it's actually how can in this moment I choose to look for love and appreciate everything? How can I love on myself and appreciate me? How can I start to look for pleasure? How can I just, we all do it with our food, right? Where we code it in and then it's like one bite. If you guys have ever experienced where you go through medicine and everything becomes like heightened, and then you have like a bite of mango and you're like, oh, and the mango is orgasmic and it's like one bite and you're just like, breath, it feels so good and everything, but you can access that becoming your normal state of being. So it's available in this moment when you say, can I feel pleasure in my breath? Can I be so grateful for this breath of air I have? Can I be so grateful for it? Can I look around and be so grateful that I'm supported, that there's always a roof over my head and there's always food to eat and there's like beauty everywhere? That is the starting point of accessing your pleasure codes.
Truly.
So
Practice
true.
that question. Yeah. So it's a longer question, but I'll say this full. So how do we bring people on board with these ideas if we aren't currently thinking this way?
If they aren't currently thinking this way, and how do we get people to see how magnificent they truly are without them creating a jealousy of sorts?
Guess what? You be it. That's so simple. Anything outside of you, you're not here to force anyone else, to convince them. Again, transparency is there's nothing to hide and nothing to prove. So I don't need my family to change their mind or need to convince humanity that they're God. I am God. I embody God. I know that I'm God. I be God. I treat them like God and they will witness God.
Yes. Preach it. Preach it, sister.
You need to be holding the mic for that one so you could have dropped it after that one.
But this is the thing, because we have expectations of how others should show up in our reality, right? How they should show up in our reality for us.
Yep.
And there has to also be a willingness, that you get to embody that. You get to claim that energy, that you are the highest love and light, you are divinity, you are God, you are radiance, you are pleasure. And they will witness that. And if they're not ready to kind of join you on that, that's okay. You need to let go of the expectation of them coming on board with you, and you just keep shining. And this is the piece, we're so attached to things in our life looking and being a certain way. And I've, in my whole journey, I've had to been destined that I've let go of a lot of things, and I continue to let go of things. I continue to recalibrate every week. Okay, this person, this thing, this idea, this belief, it's just constantly just like, it's not in my highest joy. It's not in my highest joy. It's not in my highest joy. And just keep being there. And then other people that are of that resonance, that can understand and really see and feel, oh my God, she's on the same wavelength. I know where she's at. They come in as well. And often or not, the people that we sometimes may have to leave for a little while, they come back in, or they're watching and they're observing and they're actually growing alongside us. My family, friends, everyone that's a part of my life or energetically connected to me, whether they're conscious of it or not, everything that I'm doing, they are receiving and they're actually evolving with me. And I'm noticing it, and it's speeding up now more than ever.
Well, we're doing the work for more than just ourselves,
Exactly. And it's all part of the process. So it's like, see, again, if we judge it based on what looks like right now, we can never know what the future holds, and like each person where they're going to be in 5 years or where we were 5 years ago. It's like, again, when someone has the question of how do I making something outside of you is force, is control. Anything you're trying to control is controlling you. You're not here to make anything happen. You're here to be. And so, it's like being, again, like you spoke to it, Abby. It's like it just reflects and like a need, an expectation, an attachment. If you need anything outside of you, it's an expectation or attachment. That I need my family's approval, or I need people to see this, or I need them to hear that. And we can sometimes do this in a spiritual bypass validation, which is like, oh no, but for higher humanity, you've seen it with, as things came up in the world, again, speaking out of light, we see a lot of light leaders saying, you should do this. It's like, well, anytime we apply any of those principles, those are old lower vibrational frequencies that says, actually, we get to honor every single person experiencing this in whatever way they're experiencing it, whatever way they're responding, whatever they're learning, wherever they're at. We know as God, they chose the exact experience they are. Who am I to ever deny them of the exact experience they know is of their highest self? Right? And so again, this is part of the letting go of, I have to control anything. So you just love and release and allow. You required the destoring or the decluttering of your space, the alchemizing of your energetic field for other people in alignment to come in. And like you said, it's all just, so when we just witness it as all beautiful, again, it's for our own reflection of, do I have an attachment to that? Does that trigger me? Do I have an expectation of someone? Is love transactional versus can I be unconditional love? We talked about this yesterday on someone having, when they spoke out, because, a lot of us are learning to fully express and lead. And then they had, they're so worried about someone giving a bad comment or having a hater or that happening. And I'm like, can you be a field of unconditional love for when someone gives you a hate comment? It can be like, thank you. I appreciate your perception. I appreciate that's where you're at. Or I appreciate that's your experience. This is what's true for me. And I can hold my own field and I can love that. Instead of us waiting, well, I don't want others to, it's like, actually, can I be the person that holds that field? So the opportunity is for us to be the people who operate from that vibration frequency and those patterns of behaviors. And that is how then we create that reflection for others. And, it's all part of our perfect, beautiful process. Everyone exactly where they're at.
I agree, sister. I'm loving this. I just want to elaborate on this question before it maybe goes on.
I was going to keep on that question for a second. So what's interesting is that at many different stages of my journey, and you guys are speaking on this already, we have that moment, and it doesn't come through at the moment, but I can remember 5 and 6 and 8 years ago, like letting go of relationships, whether it was intimate relationships or friendships or whatever it may have been, or connections to a particular person or even a family member, and the attachment we have to that thing.
Yeah.
And then what unfolds is once we let go, how effortlessly something else replaces it that is actually more aligned and is actually a reflection of where you're going and the life you actually want to create. And I think very often what happens is, and I've done this myself even recently as well, is we believe in somebody so much that we actually continue to enable them to stay where they are. We want to try and drag them with us when really we're actually dishonoring them and their own decision to choose whether that's actually for them in this moment. That's a trap that I've fallen into personally. And I wanted to speak to that as well, because sometimes we really want to bring everybody with us. But unfortunately, when people don't fully meet you, if they can't continue to meet you, then there's nothing wrong with the person. It's just that if you're going to continue to try and babysit and pull them with you, it's going to be a struggle.
And that's what Marianne's talking about here. I just want to say. She's saying, so how do we navigate our friends and family being in total judgment while still maintaining relationships?
So anytime we feel judgment, it's our own thing to alchemize. Where you have an attachment to them loving us a certain way or showing up a certain way. And again, the same thing is that then we expect them to love us the way that we are. That's an attachment. It's like, that's a judgment. I'm judging you for not accepting me for who I am. And I'm attached to, it should look this way. You should show up this way. So we do this out of a like, well, but that's healing. Well, the healing is you become so whole and complete. You are love. And you're actually, it doesn't trigger you that people operate. And so my family all still is the Mormon religion that I was brought up in. And we have every single relationship in my life is divine, is alchemized. There's not one relationship in my life that has any resistance to it. And we're different religions, different beliefs, different experiences, because we've been willing to have the conversations that I could say, thank you for letting me know that's how you feel, or that's what you're seeing, or this, and this is what's true for me. What I'd love to create is this with you. And it's like, no matter what they choose, I can honor them for their experience and what they choose, so that the healing is for yourself. You get to give yourself the healing. You're not waiting for others to then finally one day do the healing so they don't judge you. You're actually willing to stand in your truth and own who you are, no matter what others experience. And it's perfectly, the love is, I can love you having that experience. I can love you having those perceptions and those judgments. And I actually don't attach to them because I know they're not mine. They're just a reflection of what's triggering you inside and what your beliefs are. And that's okay, because I love you so much and I honor you as God. I know that you're perfectly experiencing what you're meant to be experiencing right now. I love you. That's the healing journey. It's not about them. It is about your own healing and giving it to yourself. And it's about them and what they're seeing. That's what's so beautiful about it.
Totally. Nothing else needs to be shared on that one.
I know.
That's
I
it.
love
It's
it.
as simple as that. And the thing is what I'm loving about the questions is the answers are often very simple.
Yeah, so simple.
The human mind wants to complicate it. It needs to be this, and this should happen, and this should happen. And we should ourselves, as always, we know, to death, right? When truthfully, there's a continuous anchor that you come back to, Marci, that I love is also like acceptance of all things as they are in this moment.
Yeah.
I would love you to tell me what actually it gives you access to personally, but what I've witnessed that it gives you access to is ease. Because it gives you the permission to let go of any attachment to how you think it should be, therefore creating an energy of flow within yourself. Yeah. Because you're not going, oh, but I wish the person would do this and this and this. You're just like, oh.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. You're beautiful. I love you the way that you are. Yeah. You know, so I just honoring that within you.
Yeah, things that I practiced to come to that was I would catch myself and say, oh, interesting. So interesting allowed me to go, let me get curious as to why there'd be a trigger or guard or anything. It's like, interesting. Like, why did I attract this? What's here for me? And I'd say, it's perfect. Reminding myself whatever's in front of me is perfect. And whatever I'm experiencing is perfect. Again, that's how we come to knowing all emotions, all experiences are perfect. We have to be willing to accept and love all that is there, to alchemize and have something else even be there, to be able to experience something different. But when we're trying to suppress what we're experiencing, we're saying this in front of me is not okay. It should be this way. Again, we're just buying into the matrix and the lie. And we're keeping ourselves in separation from our divinity and what we actually have here as our perfect experience. So it gives you liberation. Everything is your own choice of liberation. That's why I say our stories, when we just look at it and I go, is this creating suffering in my life? If I have a story that it should be a different way, is that creating suffering or is that creating liberation? Oh, well, yeah, the story I have then is creating pain for me. Then what is it that I get to alchemize here and heal that will then give me access to more liberation?
You know, it was another really powerful moment, and
yes, Marci.
We'll probably do this again at some point in terms of like this experience I'm about to share. The moment that we had when we hired the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid.
Oh yeah,
the four of us in there. It was just us in the Great Pyramid. We had to ourselves for like 2 hours, and which is a wild experience, which many people. People like Tony Robbins and like high level like Joe Dispenza get to experience that. And we were like, we want to experience that. I want to do that. But the moment I want to share is that Abby, yourself, me, and Ahmed were in this experience, and we just kind of freestyled a mini like kind of ceremony in the container in this King's Chamber. And then you two started singing. And it was all these like sounds started coming out. I was having this like full Kundalini awakening. I'm like holding my arm, kind of having this full blown process. But that experience, it's kind of like it was like blowing open all these different layers of and dimensions of my body. It was like me saying that out loud. When I think of where I was 6 and 7, 8 years ago, I'm like, me hearing that now, I'm like, wow. That's the things that I do. That's the things we do for fun and for play and to actually have a good time. And like we get excited to do that. Just, crazy.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, I just want to speak to, excuse me, I'm yawning.
You're allowed to yawn.
I want to speak to Julie because she said, I had a beautiful soul whom I love and who I consider highly evolved within themselves. Tell me they didn't think this container was doing me any good. How should I digest that?
This container's in this container?
Yeah, this Unify experience. And this is, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure there's been many people that resonate with having people outside of the container maybe express, that this isn't, when they don't know what it is as well, this is this is that, this is the other. And I just believe that this is a beautiful opportunity for you to tune into your truth. Have you received value in this conversation? Have you received value? Have you received any sort of energetic experience or upgrade from being in this community? And for some of you, maybe this isn't the space that you're meant to be in right now. Maybe this isn't the space that your soul wants you to be in to receive. But I always, with someone else telling me what I should do or what they think is right for my own journey and my own experience, I actually think the invitation for you, Julie, is to like stand in your truth and actually speak your truth. And I know that you've shown up in a few of the conversations. So maybe it's an invitation for you to speak to your beloved soul friend, your dear brother or sister, and express what this container has opened for you.
And
from a place of, from a place of truth and love, but transparency.
Yeah, and the terminology highly evolved being is a very loose term. And one thing that I would say, it's a very, very loose term to put. Anyway, the piece, and I want to bring it back to the simplicity of what Marci shared before, is like, does this contain and make you expand or contract? Like, your body will tell you.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, besides, like, I could hear a million things. I could hear science. I could hear every single justification for why something should be something. But if my body, it says yes, I'm like, I'm doing it. It's as simple as that.
It's really come back to what's assisted me in my journey is coming back to the laws of consciousness. As Abby said, anytime someone is telling you what they think and what you should do, it's simply projection from their own internal belief systems, because everything is a mirror. So, and I don't know if you guys noticed when you said that, I went, aw, because I've trained myself also to see everyone as a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old that has just their belief systems from that kind of a conversation. So there's obviously something in there. Is there, for them, it could be my friend's going to evolve and I'm going to lose you. Who knows what they're experiencing, that they would have a projection of like, you should or should not participate in anything else, or it should look this way. That's why in my relationships, all my relationships, it's been interesting as I coach and support people, and they have an experience of like, there's someone I recently supported where, they had an evolved, beautiful lovership come in relationship, and all these judgments came in. And I was like, that's interesting. Like in my world, if anything, like if we are, you guys know, like sharing of my beloved, and you're like, oh, babes, blah, like, yes, celebrate. There's never a projection from any of my friends, any of the people that I operate with. I would never tell you guys what I think you should do. That's not mine. Like you're a divine being in charge of you. It would never even be in my framework to be like, let me tell you what you should do and what I think. Now that's unsolicited advice, first off, which is when someone says, this is what I think you should do. That's coming from, again, their perception of what their belief is. If you came to me and said, Mars, this is something that I'm noticing, and this is something I would love some support with. What are your perceptions or thoughts, or what do you see? Then I can be like, that's solicited, meaning you've asked and requested. I don't give out unsolicited advice. Not worth my fucking energy. It's not my business. Your life is not my business. My life is my business. And my experience of life is my business. So again, it is beautiful to go, whatever's happening, also for that person to receive that experience is like, wow, how do I notice I shrink? Or do I actually just like, thank you for letting me know how you're feeling. Thank you for letting me know your perception. I'm happy to understand more as a dear friend, like why you would perceive that. And then I can also have an opportunity to speak my truth. It might be a total experience for up level for you both. It's all for divine beauty. There is no wrong or right. There's not even to say this container is wrong or right. There is no wrong or right ever. It's just when I go back and go, all right, is it, like you said, is it expansion or contraction? What is it bringing up for us? And how do we get to own our own truth of what is right for ourselves? See, as a newer human, we operate from a place of, I can only honor you. You are worthy of your every experience, every choice. You are a divine being of light. There's nothing for me to put on anyone else. There's just for me to continue to be light. So how can you be light in this situation and own your truth and be that light for whatever? And again, some of the things we talk about, some people are like, that is fucking too much. Again, I believe there's never too much in your wholeness. Too much is just a reflection of how much you can actually handle in this moment, how much you can receive, how much capability can you witness of like multidimensional and all these things that we're talking about. Some of you might be like, that is just, and you're like, but that piece, I can take that piece. Well, guess what? Take what resonates for you. Take what resonates for you and what's going to serve and support you to create your most glorious experience. And we just honor you to be in whatever you're experiencing as long as you want to experience. And guess what? We're here holding a field of love. We love you. That's it.
Yeah,
there's nothing but love here.
We have no qualm.
No expectations.
Yeah. Because and one key element as well to really anchor in and to really bring presence to is that person isn't wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
They're not even wrong. Like it's not even that they're wrong. It's just their truth, and it doesn't need to be your truth. And that is the gift of choosing your own sovereignty, which is a practice. Again, like choosing your sovereignty is like, wow, that's your truth. That's incredible. My truth is this. And if your truths to match, then awesome. And if they don't, that's also fucking epic. Because then, for me personally, as someone that is in the practice of owning and embodying my sovereignty and my truth, it's like I actually prefer it sometimes when someone doesn't completely agree with everything that I say. I actually prefer it sometimes because I'm like, oh, it allows me to then work through whatever resistance I have to that person in their truth.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very fascinating. Like, I mean, when someone doesn't agree with me, I'm actually not that I'm inciting challenge. However, what I am open to experiencing is that when someone doesn't agree with what I'm sharing, and then practicing actually loving that person unconditionally, even in the face of that. What I've noticed that has happened, and not really in this container at all, a little minor thing came up around the different diets and food and veganism and all that kind of stuff. And we had to really kind of speak to it. Like, true unity consciousness is not when we all agree.
Yeah.
Unity consciousness is when we disagree and we hold each other in a field of love. That is unity consciousness. Because you're never going to get 8 billion people on the planet to agree on everything all the time, every single day. It's not going to happen that way.
Stagnant. There'd be no growth and expansion there. We all are worthy. Yeah, that's beautiful.
So yeah. So and that's it. So I again, like I am actually honoring within myself, like hearing that my body's just like perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because it's letting go of the need, like, and within myself and within us, for everyone to love us too, which is another point. Because every time we choose to please somebody else, we're giving our power away, and we're choosing to love them over self-love. You know, and I think it's like love is more pure when it comes through your vessel as your authentic expression, as opposed to choosing love for them over choosing love for yourself. So
just wanted to do a quick shout out to Oren and Z because they just and they're saying hello. They're just spreading.
Aren't they a
love.
sexy couple? Like those two, like these two people, like they're pure fire together.
They're like you guys. I'm in awe. They're just glorious.
Well, we are you.
Yes. Glorious. Yep.
Well, what I would love to say is we're pretty deep in this conversation. Is there anything else that you feel you really want the tribe to hear in this moment, Marci? Something that really encapsulates. I mean, you shared so many nuggets in this conversation. It's been incredible. I feel like it's been an upgrade for every single person, including us, that have received this in this moment. And is there anything else that you really feel that's burning on your heart that you would love people to just hear as Unify is a reflection of humanity right now, right? There's 8,000 plus people in there, and we are a reflection of humanity. So I would love to know anything else that you feel called to share in this moment.
The only thing that's coming through is like, love. I just feel such divine, unconditional love for all of you and for everyone's journey and everything you're experiencing right now and everything you've ever experienced. And just to know you're perfect, whole, and complete. You are love. Like, it's all love. Like, that's how simple it really is. It's not like I'm like, it's just love, my loves. It's just all be love.
Thank you.
Thank you for your deep embodied unconditional love, and just thank you for being that person that is a reflection of the remembrance that we all are in our true nature. So thank you, sister. You are so divine. And I'm just honoring you for everything you've done in your life. And I know that you do so much that most of the world doesn't even see what you actually do for humanity, and just honoring your humility in that, because it is true humility and servitude to humanity. So thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Accept, I receive. Thank you, brother, for witnessing that. And sister, I love you so infinitely much, infinitely, completely, always and always.
And for those of you guys watching at home, I'd love you guys just to popcorn some words into the comments that come to mind when you tune into Marci's energy. Like, just popcorn some words. You can go back and check them out afterwards and have a little play and connect with you guys afterwards. Yeah, just whatever words kind of emanate out of your body when you feel Marci's energy. It'd be really beautiful to share with her. There's so much love in the comments. Like, these guys are just like love. It's like, yeah.
They're just like thanking. They're just like, thank you so much, love. Just so much love. So divine. So radiant. All you need is love. Da, 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 da. Juicy. Thank you. Heart is bursting. Exhilaration. feeling the love.
I love the word
unconditional love.
exhilaration. Renee sharing that. I love it. The first time we met, I'll just share this last piece before we jump off, is the first time we met Marci, we were supposed to catch up for I think it was 90 minutes, we said, and then 4 hours later, we're still talking. And I can remember we were talking about it for hours after we left you, and we were vibrating at such a frequency. We were like, "Ooh, that was intense." You know what I mean? And it was multiple things. It was the vibration that you hold in your embodiment, coupled with the remembrance of us coming together. You know, because there's a little story, and the moment that we fully engaged in conversation and realized we were going to be friends was I added you as a friend on Facebook. I actually heard you on Adam's podcast. We started commenting on each other's stuff, and we're honoring each other. And then what was interesting is you went into, for 14 days, I don't know where, I think you were somewhere in
I was in Navaratri, India. I didn't know where I was supposed to go next, because again, I was just surrender, go wherever. And I was all of a sudden Bali, you dropped into my field. I just had this picture of you, and I only knew little bits of you. And then you messaged me. You literally messaged me the very next day, and we had just decided I felt I was called to Bali. And then you literally messaged, and you're like, "We're in Bali. We'll tell you a place to go in Bali." You just showed up in my field, ease and grace, and was yeah, it was just so beautiful.
I'll never forget, I was in this restaurant called Roma in Canggu, and I was in the bathroom, and your voice notes were coming through, right? And it was one after the other. It was like, "Oh my God." I saw you. And then it was all, it was so good. And I'm like, wow, you've had a really powerful activation. I can feel it running through your body. And then from then, it's just been a beautiful relationship and connection. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. So again, thank you. Love you. Appreciate you. These guys appreciate you.
I love you so much.
Looking forward to my next adventure.
Love you,
sister, so much.
Bye.
Thank you to all the community. Love you guys.
Love you so much.
Thank you so much, my friends, for listening and participating and being a part of the show. I'm super excited to share with you that my book, The Awakened Being, Living in Liberation, Abundance, and Bliss Now, is available for pre-order. And we want you to get access to this right away and begin to use these tools. And so if you pre-order my book, we're going to send you also my exclusive members-only frequency wave training. This is getting you access to a specific tool that has been such a huge part of my manifestation. It's what I teach my high-level peeps, my personal clients, and I'm always sharing and implementing this in my retreats because it actually gets results on how to start, how to activate, and how to lock in your day into a new way of being. And it's one of my favorite manifestation tools that I personally use every single day. So if you want to pre-order for yourself, you're going to get that. If you want to pre-order for some friends and family and get even more, I've got a whole bunch of other cool programs that we're going to give you access to. So check those out at book.marcilocke.com. And I look forward to sharing this next stage of the journey with you. Thank you, my friends, for joining me for another amazing conversation to create change. To allow that change to take place, please integrate the tools so that you can really receive the change into your life. And I invite you to join us for even more in the Best Life Tribe and continue on your path and your journey. And remember who you really are, a divine being that is already whole, already worthy, completely deserving, and fully capable to now claim and live the life you love.